Um, Today we're going to talk about organizational culture. I think the prompt was thoughts on organizational culture, what types of culture you've experienced in the workplace, and if you believe that leaders are able to shape culture. And she wants us to begin with those videos.
Those videos.
Those Zappos
Yeah.
videos.
Yeah.
But,
So
He said something really interesting, and I've just been really excited to share, and I'm sure you guys heard it too, how I think there seems to be a lot of focus on work-life balance, but he specified work-life integration, hoping that the culture and environment at the workplace is something that you enjoy enough that it just integrates with your day-to-day life. I thought that was kind of a cool concept.
yeah, it is a cool concept. Has anyone experienced anything like that?
Not exactly. I think the closest I've been was a job that I had several years ago where I really had a great personal relationship with the people that I worked with, but it was still a job. And I still, at the end of the day, the job wasn't that great, but the people were. So it's, hard to say.
I'd be curious to see what it's actually like to work at Zappos, just because a lot of those, they're like a tech company, right? They do, yeah. A lot of those don't have the best reputation and overwork a lot. Like you see a lot with SpaceX does a lot of cool things, and people love Elon Musk, but he works as engineers to the bone. So,
like I've heard
I know I was thinking, like I was watching the video, I was like, that's cool, and like this guy works for them, but I was like, I could never work in that environment. It would drive me crazy. Like I need to be able to think. So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to go about it, I guess. It seems really cool, but doesn't mean it's for, all the talented people, so I think there's many different ways to go about it, I guess.
yeah, I do think there has to be a balance between trying to be fun and because a lot of corporate fun just isn't fun at all.
Mandatory fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's kind of like if you think about the relationship between like a parent and a child, it's not the parent's job to be the friend. You've got to provide some structure and discipline because you're teaching or guiding the child. I mean, I know it's kind of an extreme analogy, but as leaders, it's also our job to make sure people are doing what they are supposed to, because that reflects on us if they're not.
For sure.
That's true. I think to some extent, though, I think in really successful organizations, you can kind of set the culture. A lot of those organizations set the culture to where it's kind of self-policing in a lot of ways, just amongst peers even, to where it doesn't always have to come down from management as like this heavy-handed disciplinary thing, I think that can be really beneficial. But I guess that could even with your kids too, to some degree, that can also be true if you can, when you get your children to kind of figure things out on their own.
Yeah, I definitely didn't want my brothers telling me what to do. There's no way.
Well, not necessarily telling people what to do,
but
just kind of solving stuff at the lowest level.
No. Yeah, I guess that could work, but I mean, who wants to? Then I mean, you have that peer relationship, and I don't know, that could kind of dissolve it among coworkers because you want that cohesion. And if they're working in a team, I get it though. It is important and everybody should be keeping each other honest. That sounds really
right.
It sounds a lot like the military to me. So I was wondering if that's why you brought it up, kind of.
Yeah, that's true.
But like that can erode a team quickly too.
Well, yeah, I mean, you definitely have to have the oversight. Like the manager's got to be able. You have to keep a kind of a the pulse of your team. You can't just kind of step back and just let it go off on its own and just hope it works out.
And there's always that one guy that takes things way too far.
Right.
I work at Starbucks, and actually my manager, she's super awesome, is really flexible with everyone's schedules, and she kind of lets us decide as long as we're following the core values of the company. She's like, kind of lets us decide what we're doing and how to kind of police ourselves. And obviously there's a supervisor on the floor and everything who's running all the plays and everything and making sure that we're doing our jobs correctly and that everything's running smoothly. But for the most part, we're on our own. We just kind of police ourselves, and it works. She's only had to discipline a couple employees, and they're not even with the company anymore. So, but yeah, we have a really great cohesion with my store. The only thing we're nervous about is we're moving into a new store, and we just like tripled our staff. And we have all these new people and people from other stores. And so it's going to be kind of a rough couple of weeks coming into this next part of time, because we're going to have to be cohesion with everyone else. And it's been rough so far.
That's a company with a great organizational culture. I never hear anybody saying anything bad about working ever.
I absolutely love working for them. They offer their employees so much support and benefits. You only have to work 20 hours a week to have benefits, and that's healthcare, vision, dental, school. So.
Yeah, I think for one of the responses this week I did yesterday, I responded to someone that was talking about how much they loved working at Starbucks, and just seems great. They do a lot of what I don't even know how to say it, so I'm going to sound dumb, but the Pygmalion effect or whatever, where people live up to expectations. And Starbucks seems to have high expectations of their employees. Go out, get more educated, get a degree, move up, get promoted, and then people just do it and they love it. It's amazing to me.
And one of my other coworkers, who was in the same ASU program that I'm in, that she started getting emails from corporate asking her to apply for jobs in the corporate setting rather than just in like the store retail setting. So I think that's really awesome, as they're looking out for their employees. They're watching them, making sure that they're succeeding and that they have opportunities, that they're giving them opportunities.
Yeah, actively seeking out potential. Yeah, I think the idea of the Pygmalion, I can't say it either. The Pygmalion effect of living up to expectations, I think that's absolutely. I've seen that kind of throughout the different work environments I've been in, especially in the military, when people get labeled as either the hard charging soldier, the high performer, or what we refer to as the dirt bag.
I was going to say, you definitely see a lot going the other way too.
But then once they get labeled, it totally becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy to a certain degree, where they're like, well, if you're going to tell me I'm a horrible person, I'm a horrible soldier, I do a horrible job every day at work, then eventually I'm just going to start doing a horrible job, because what's the difference?
Yeah, exactly. They do a lot of there's a lot of NCOs, lower NCOs like E5, E6. You see a lot of encouraging, saying stuff like, "Oh, your job's so easy. All you do is show up, and then that's it." I'm sure you've heard that, right? You have the easiest job in the world, blah blah blah. You just do what you're told and show up, and then they wonder why no one performs.
And then you wonder why people just show up and do what they're told.
Yeah. Oh, why don't you take initiative? Well, you told me just show up.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
so counterintuitive. Like, why would you tell someone not to work hard and you have an easy job and then expect the world?
Right. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I think Starbucks definitely, I'm not salty about the military. I didn't mind it. I was in for 5 years, but that always confused me.
It's true, though. It's totally counterintuitive, but it's just an easy fallback for people, I think. It's a crutch for people that, in my view, got put into leadership positions that essentially they showed up enough days in a row and they're like, oh, we'll make you a leader because you keep showing up on time, versus people that actually demonstrated some kind of ability.
Yeah. There's definitely a reason for that too. There's so many people and so many people going in and out. You need to promote someone.
Sure. Yeah, I know it's true to me, because I got out last year and I'm working for Verizon now, and after about 8 months there, I got offered to move into another position. It was technically a lateral move, but it was a lot greater responsibility, my own team, so to speak, instead of being under another manager. And I was pretty apprehensive about it, but because the way I was approached by my leadership and kind of the way they pitched it to me and the way they thought that I would be okay. I've done well, I think, because of part of it's because of the confidence they gave me going into a position that I wasn't sure about myself.
And I think we've got to be cognizant of like what we're saying versus what we're trying to accomplish with what we're saying, because your example of somebody telling you, oh, you have the easiest job in the world, et cetera, they're probably, their goal isn't to probably try to get you to just do the bare minimum. They're probably trying to motivate you somehow, but
Definitely.
they're going about it the wrong way, because what they're saying versus what you're hearing, they're two different
Exactly.
things. So,
the message definitely doesn't match kind of what the intent is.
Yeah.
No, definitely. Plus, everybody hears it a million times, so they don't have anything useful to say, so they just mirror what's been said to them.
It's just funny how language is, because I read something the other day about how instead of saying sorry for something, this person started thanking people for, like, instead of I'm sorry I'm late, they said they were focusing more on, oh, thank you for being patient with me. So they're approaching people with an attitude of gratitude rather than focusing negativity on themselves. And it just really, I just thought the concept, I mean, that's sunshine and rainbows, right? We don't always get that, but
it's interesting, though.
That is.
It is. Yeah.
The interesting approach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense, really. I mean, you're still, showing, respect or acknowledging the fact that you kind of, goofed up, but now you're doing so with a positive spin. So yeah,
I'm not sorry. I'm grateful.
Right. I think in terms of leaders kind of controlling or being able to shape culture, I think it has to kind of come from the leadership level initially. But it can be, I think it's really challenging for leaders if you don't find a way to get the kind of buy-in. Like it can be started from the top, but if you don't get the whole organization to kind of buy into it, then it's going to be exponentially harder to actually get it to take hold. It's just some guy spouting from the top.
Yeah, you definitely need the big picture culture, and you can't and you see with any big business that's successful, they have one vision, one kind of culture. So you couldn't do it at every individual level either, but at the same point, you kind of have to a little. Because obviously your interaction with your direct supervisor has to be different than your interaction with the CEO or whatever.
Sure.
So I do think at every level, a leader can shape culture and they can make it better, but I think it would be dangerous to stray away from the overall culture of the company.
Right. Yeah, I know me working for Verizon currently, it's like one of the 30th largest companies in the US currently or something. It's gigantic. It's like 190,000 employees or something. And we've got our Verizon credo, as they call it, which is kind of the core principles for the overall company. And it's all like in your reviews and stuff, your performance, like how did you live up to the credo? How did you model the credo? But then as you kind of filter down to the smaller sub-organizations, there's definitely kind of their own little cultures within each of those, driven by the leadership there. And then the parts of the group. But the idea is that it kind of all still falls back on that basic credo Verizon. This is kind of how we do stuff.
I think that works. It's so silly though, when you actually think about it. I mean, it works.
It is to some degree, but I mean, when you talk about an organization as large as that,
well, you have to have that basic.
Yeah, what else can you affect from the top if you're the CEO of 180,000 people?
Yeah, it's just, every document you open up when you get those mission statements and stuff. My boss loves mission statements, and I just think it's,
we just have one. So we don't, they try not to overkill it too much.
Oh, we do too, but she wants it everywhere, like anything. I do a lot of digital marketing, and she wants it in these emails. I'm like, well, why? They don't care. But I don't know. But yeah, you definitely do have to have that culture and those values and that direction.
Well, and I think people have to be able to see that you're genuine about, or that you're, what's the word I'm looking for? That you're authentic, because I used to work for this guy. He was the CEO of one of the large healthcare systems here, and he every week he would, because I started putting these quotes of the week on my whiteboard in my office, and so he's like, "Oh, that's a great idea. Try to send to just do the CEO quote of the week and trying to move all this." He would then the leadership that he fostered, or if he was walking through the halls, he wouldn't even stop to say hi to people.
You're kind of breaking
He would
up. I
not
think
agree
that.
with. Oh. How about now? Sorry.
It's okay. No.
No.
There was just a lot of incongruence. Not good. All right. I'm just gonna go ahead and stop. I'll type it out.
If I can summarize from if I'm wrong, correct me, but I think what you were saying is the CEO kept putting out quotes that were meant to be inspirational and help people, and then you didn't take the time to actually acknowledge any workers. And that made it insincere and not.
Yeah. He just was. I think I'm still here.
Yeah, you're mostly.
Okay.
But yeah, I think the actions. I mean, the actions of the leaders definitely have to, kind of match the whatever it is that they're, preaching, so to speak, or whatever the culture is that they want to see. Their actions have to match that to start with. Otherwise, it's never going to go anywhere.
Definitely, there's a reason everyone says actions speak louder than words.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. I think we covered everything. All right.
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right. We'll talk next week.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.